I, 25-year-old female, am not that close to my dad anymore. I was until I was about 13, but that changed. He either only realised it now or only started to care now that I'm living a more independent life, and he's not as involved as he wants to be. I was 8 when I lost my mum, and we were as close as ever, but I needed him more. Then when I was 11, he remarried and he became a stepdad to a girl who was 10 at the time. Now this is where full honesty comes in. I was jealous as hell that my dad was trying to bond with her and that he called her his daughter and us his girls right away. It made me feel less special. It made me feel like I didn't matter as much, because how could someone so new to him be equal to me after hardly any time? Every time he spent time with her, I felt sick. He still spent time with me, but after about 6 or 7 months of marriage, he started to spend more time with his stepdaughter. I hated it. I was both devastated and furious that she was getting my dad. When I was 13, my dad said how much he preferred hanging out with her over me because they had similar interests. He said he couldn't spend enough time with his stepdaughter, and he was hoping I would hit the teen phase of not wanting my parents around me that much. He didn't say it to me, but I heard him say it. His best friend was one of the people he did say it to, and he was like, "Dude, don't say that out loud." And my dad said most parents probably feel that way. He said it wasn't like he would ever tell me that to my face. Then he admitted he also resented me for not wanting his wife the way her daughter wanted him. He wanted us to be the perfect little family, and we looked like a step family where the step is always used because I didn't really want his wife for stuff. I gave him his wish, and over the years he increased the amount of time he spent with his stepdaughter. They could do stuff together up to 4 times a week. That was until she was 16 and wanted space. He was devastated by that, and that crushed me. So I decided that was all I needed to know and didn't try to get closer to him. He approached me with the question of why after I moved in with my boyfriend and his dad helped us move stuff. My dad said he expected to be called, and then he asked me why I had pulled away from him. So I told him everything from the jealousy to what I heard him say, and I told him I decided that I wasn't going to keep close like I had when he felt that way. Dad was offended that I had ever been jealous. He told me it was disgusting to want to deny his stepdaughter the chance at a dad. He also told me he should be allowed to have interests in common with someone other than me. I told him he was. But I was also a kid who lost my mum and clung to my sole living parent. He then accused me of manipulating him by saying all that, and I told him that he shouldn't have asked a question if he wasn't prepared for an honest answer. He told me I could frick right off with that attitude and told me to grow up. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm sorry you went through this. I can relate to it on certain level. Not as tragic, but I'm also a daughter who had to go through new dads' families. He clearly didn't provide you with enough love and reassurance and just expected you to accept them. I could see his position partially up until the point where you share your recent call with him and he just denied it and accused you of manipulation. He clearly failed to provide enough stability, reassurance and emotional empathy to you. I'm sorry. I would suggest to not cut him off forever. It might hurt you even more. This wound needs to heal. And why you can heal by yourself. Maybe when you feel strong enough, try reaching out to him again and have a heart-to-heart conversation. Not accusatory, but just share what you lacked and ask him to see it and recognize it. Therapy can help you find the right words and tools. Regardless of that, you are loved and you are special. Your dad loves you, but he didn't know what you needed and he was also suffering a loss, which doesn't justify him and you still are more than justified. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It seems like once your dad remarried, his primary concern in life became about making his new wife and stepdaughter the center of his world. I don't know why he did that. Maybe he's just a shitty person, or maybe he had some serious grief issues that he never dealt with. Either way, the result of his behavior was that he pushed you away to deal with your emotions all on your own. Now that you're no longer close, he wants to whine to you about how hurt his feelings are, but he still wants to take zero accountability for his failures as a father. He needs to grow up himself. Comment 3. Not the idiot. I think you should go ahead and do what he told you to do. If anyone, I don't care what their title is, told me to FCK off with that attitude, I would. If I had a parent treat me like that, I would go no contact. He didn't really notice that you have pulled away for more than 10 years. When he finally did notice, instead of apologizing for the pain a child had, he doubles down and insults you. Your dad can pound sand. I would consider myself an orphan. I would even take it so far as to move so he couldn't find me again. So sorry your dad is such an $1. Now, for the update. It's been a month since I posted about the situation with my dad, and things have taken a turn I never expected. I tried to reach out to him again, hoping we could mend things and I could explain myself better. But when I called, his wife answered and hesitantly told me that my dad had had a heart attack a couple of weeks ago. My world stopped. I couldn't believe I didn't know. I couldn't believe she hadn't called me sooner. By the time I got the news, he was already home from the hospital recovering. His wife said he didn't want to see anyone, but I couldn't just stay away. I had to try. When I showed up, he was sitting in the living room looking so frail and pale. It broke my heart to see him like that. I'll never forget the way he looked up at me with this mixture of surprise and something I can't quite pinpoint. Regret, maybe. I tried to apologize, to tell him how much I still loved him despite everything, but it was like there was this wall between us. He told me he was tired and didn't want to rehash old arguments. And the most painful part, he said he needed to focus on his health and that dealing with our strained relationship was too stressful for him right now. I left his house feeling numb. The guilt is eating at me. I keep wondering, if I hadn't been so stubborn, if I had dealt with my feelings differently, would he be in better health today? Did my confrontation contribute to his heart attack? My stepsister reached out to me a few days ago. She said she was sorry for not telling me about the heart attack, that things had been chaotic, and she didn't think it was her place. She also said that she thinks that despite what happened, my dad still loves me. But hearing that just made me feel worse. I want to fix things, but I'm terrified of making his health worse. I'm lost. I feel like I failed him as a daughter. I wish I could turn back time and handle everything differently. I'm watching from the sidelines, unable to mend the most important relationship in my life, and I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to make it right. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It's natural to feel guilty when we find out a family member, particularly a parent, has suffered a health crisis. However, it's important to remember that you are not responsible for your father's heart attack. Health issues are complex and can be due to a variety of reasons, including genetics, lifestyle, and stress, many of which are beyond your control. The fact that you want to apologize and mend the relationship shows that you care deeply. Your father's response, while it may feel harsh, could be his way of coping with his current health situation. He may need space to focus on his recovery. It's important to respect his needs at this time while also giving yourself grace and understanding that you have not failed as a daughter. You've reached out, and that in itself is a meaningful action. It might be helpful to communicate your feelings in a letter or another form of communication that gives him the space he needs and leaves the door open for future reconciliation without immediate pressure. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Dealing with strained family relationships is difficult, and the health scare of a loved one can bring a lot of unresolved feelings to the surface. It's important to recognize that every individual deals with stress and health issues in their own way, and sometimes that means withdrawing. Your father's reaction to focus on his health does not equate to a rejection of your apology or your efforts to mend the relationship. It is simply a reflection of his current priorities and needs. You have not failed as a daughter by having a complicated relationship with your father. These dynamics are often the result of long-standing patterns and interactions that are not solely within your control. It is also critical to consider that healing and repairing a relationship is a two-way street. It requires effort and readiness from both parties involved. If your father is not ready at this time, it does not reflect a failure on your part. Continue to offer support and make it clear you are there for him when he is ready, but also take this time to seek support for yourself, perhaps through friends, other family members, or a therapist. Comment 3. Not the idiot. It's crucial to understand that an individual's health issues, especially something as serious as a heart attack, are not something that can be blamed on another person, even if the relationship has been challenging. The burden of health falls upon the individual and their personal health decisions, and while stress can be a contributing factor, it is not solely caused by any one person or situation. Feeling lost and like you have failed are emotions indicative of a caring person who wants to fix things, but it's crucial to recognize that the timing must be right for both you and your father. It is also worth considering that sometimes, despite our best intentions, we cannot control the outcomes of situations, and we have to find ways to cope with that reality. What you can do is continue to make positive choices in how you handle the situation moving forward, perhaps by seeking ways to support your father's health journey from a distance, offering emotional support without intruding on his space, and exploring your own feelings about the relationship with a professional who can provide you with tools to navigate this complex situation. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my husband I don't care he might have a degenerative disease? My husband, 35-year-old, has been complaining about the muscles in one of his arms twitching for a week, and he's convinced he has ALS. He came home from work today and said his mouth was salivating more than normal, and informed me that's a symptom of ALS. When he first told me he was concerned, my immediate reaction was obviously fear and concern, so I asked him if he would please call a doctor the next day. He jumped down my throat for not having any sympathy, so I shut up and walked away. He has a history of complaining about his health and not doing anything about it. He complained about groin pain for the first 10 years of our relationship, and I got sick of hearing about it, so every time he complained I would ask if he had called a doctor yet. The answer was always no. We were on a hiking trip 3 years ago, and when we got back to the cabin, he was laying on the sofa and said he felt a bulge in his groin. I immediately knew it was a hernia, and told him to make an appointment ASAP. It took withholding intimacy before he would finally go to a doctor, where he was diagnosed with massive bilateral hernias. So yeah, my sympathy for his health complaints is gone. I feel like he should seek the advice and guidance of a professional if he thinks something is very wrong, because I'm as far from being in the medical field as one can get. I've tried making his appointments for him in the past, but he either just wouldn't go or would cancel them. Back to the ALS concern. Tonight, when he got home and informed me about his watery mouth, I asked him if he had called our healthcare provider today. He said no. I calmly asked him why not, and then said I was concerned that he thought he had a serious degenerative disease, but wouldn't do anything about it. An argument ensued, and he called me a "see you next Tuesday" for not having any sympathy for his ailments. I told him I really didn't care if he thought he had a serious disease. What I do care about is if he has a serious disease, knowing that we will tackle it once there's a diagnosis. I'm not remotely interested in coddling his hypochondria. So, am I the jerk for telling my husband I don't care he might have a degenerative disease because he won't seek medical help? Update. He just called to tell me he was leaving the doctor's office. He called this morning and they, surprise, had an appointment. The doctor thinks it's post-COVID symptoms, but is running a complete blood panel just in case. He's getting blood drawn tomorrow. I do think he needs to seek therapy for medical and maybe generalized anxiety, because this is such a pattern, and it shouldn't get to this point before he's willing to seek help. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Some people have a mental thing where they assume that the ritual of getting other people's sympathy is all they need. They can't imagine enjoying actually getting better, by going to a doctor and finding out what is wrong and following the doctor's instructions in order to solve the problem. It sounds uncomfy. They also can't figure out that if they go on applying sympathy to a steadily worsening medical issue, that medical issue may well unalive them, and then they won't be able to follow their ritual anymore. Source: parent who died after refusing to do the work to get better, because immediately feeling better was just so important to her. You have my permission to show this to him if you think it'll help. Comment 2. Not the idiot without a proper diagnostic. It is impossible to determine what is wrong. Is he an attention seeker? Why is he waiting for you to book his doctor's appointment for him? Does he know that fatigue, anxiety and stress can give you these symptoms as well? Wouldn't it be easier to just go to the doctor, who is the best, most qualified person to diagnose and treat him, if there is a real degenerative disease, or to put his mind at ease if it is something else and start a treatment plan? Comment 3. At first I thought you were, but then thinking of the months and months and months of my husband complaining about his teeth and never going to the dentist. Then his tooth started chipping, so he finally went in, and it's worse than he thought it would even be. So not the idiot. Now for the update. 2 weeks have passed since my husband finally went to the doctor. His blood tests came back, and they were a mixed bag. His vitamin D levels were in the basement, and he tested positive for the Epstein-Barr virus, which the doctor suggested could be reactivated and contributing to his symptoms. But the biggest shock was a high creatine kinase, CK, level indicating muscle damage or, in rare cases, early signs of a neuromuscular disorder. We were both floored. He clung to this as a vindication of his ALS fears until the neurologist appointment, which was expedited given the abnormal tests. I'll admit I was scared too, but I tried to keep it together for both of us. The neurologist ran him through a battery of tests, EMGs, MRIs, the works. After what seemed like an eternity, we got results that were both a relief and a wake-up call. No ALS. Instead, he was diagnosed with benign fasciculation syndrome, BFS, exacerbated by extreme stress and anxiety. The excessive salivation, a side effect of the stress-induced acid reflux he'd been ignoring. The diagnosis was a tipping point. My husband broke down, relieved but also realizing how his anxiety spiraled out of control, affecting us both. It was a pivot point for our relationship too. No more sympathy, but empathy. Yes, we had a heart-to-heart, and he's agreed to start therapy for his health anxiety. And with the doctor's recommendation, he's also beginning a regimen of physical therapy to manage the BFS and joining a gym to focus on his overall health. The past 2 weeks have been humbling for both of us. We're relearning how to communicate and support each other constructively. It's not easy, but we're making progress. The house is calmer, and I feel like we're finally moving forward, not just spinning our wheels in worry and frustration. Fingers crossed the next update will be about how therapy's going, and the positive changes we're hoping will come with time and work. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Receiving a medical diagnosis, especially when it involves potentially serious conditions like ALS, can be an incredibly stressful and emotional experience for anyone. It's clear from your story that both you and your husband have been through a rollercoaster of emotions, from fear and anxiety to relief at the final diagnosis of benign fasciculation syndrome. It's commendable that rather than letting the situation drive a wedge between you, you've chosen to take it as a turning point to strengthen your relationship and provide mutual support. Seeking therapy is a proactive step that shows a strong commitment to both your husband's health and the health of your relationship. It's also important to acknowledge the mental toll that health anxiety can take, and by addressing this head-on, you're setting yourselves up for a healthier future together. Remember that focusing on wellness, both physical and mental, is a journey, and it requires patience and understanding from both partners. Comment 2. Not the idiot. The path to an accurate diagnosis can leave patients and their families in limbo, grappling with uncertainty and fear. Your response to your husband's health scares and the eventual BFS diagnosis demonstrates a deep sense of empathy and partnership. It's crucial to recognize the impact of stress and anxiety on physical health, and by doing so, you're validating your husband's experiences and ensuring he doesn't face them alone. Engaging in physical therapy is a practical approach to managing BFS, and it is often overlooked how much such conditions can affect day-to-day life. By taking these steps, you're not only alleviating the symptoms but also equipping your husband with tools to improve his quality of life. It's equally important to highlight the role of self-care for caregivers. As you support your husband, it's vital to also take care of yourself to prevent burnout. Encouraging each other to maintain a healthy balance between caregiving and self-care will benefit both of you in the long term. Comment 3. Not the idiot. When a loved one faces health challenges, the situation can test the resilience of any relationship. Your determination to face this challenge together and your commitment to therapy is a testament to the strength of your bond. It's heartening to hear that you see a positive trajectory ahead, which is a sign of hope and a shared vision for the future. It's worth noting the importance of education and advocacy in dealing with health conditions like BFS. By learning more about the condition and possibly connecting with support groups or others who have experienced similar issues, you can empower yourselves with knowledge and community support. This proactive attitude towards managing health anxiety and BFS can foster a sense of control and reduce feelings of helplessness that often accompany health-related uncertainties. Your approach is a model for how couples can navigate health crises with grace and mutual support, paving the way for positive change. Now, for the next story. I, 25-year-old female, married my husband Joe, 27-year-old male, 4 months ago. We dated all through high school and college, so we have been in each other's lives and in each other's families for quite some time. Joe's father died when we were seniors in high school, and his sister Jill died 3 years ago. Since then, his mother Jean has been, in my opinion, unhinged. I cannot imagine her sense of loss, and I know everyone has their own grief process, so I really try not to judge, but she makes everything about her grief. She didn't come to our college graduation because she would never get to see Jill graduate from college. We try to be especially kind to her on Mother's Day, but she spends hours at the cemetery and gets very irate if we leave before she's ready to. She insists we give our first child her husband's name as a first or middle name, and gets angry when we say we'll name our future children as we see fit. There have been other incidents too. She's done so much to push Joe away, while also relying on him for emotional and sometimes financial support. They have a very unhealthy relationship now. It came to a head when we were wedding planning. I invited her to come wedding dress shopping with me, my mum, my grandma and my maid of honour. I told her she did not need to come if it was going to be painful for her, but she said she would be happy to. To all our surprise, she came and brought a wedding gown that Jill had purchased to save for her own wedding someday. She said it would help her if I tried it on, and I did, which made her cry. But then she insisted that it was my dress, and I didn't need to get another one. After multiple refusals, she pouted the rest of the time. It was so awkward for everyone. This led to a lot of drama, to the point where Joe and me, but mostly Joe, did not want her at the wedding because we couldn't trust her to not cause some kind of scene, and because we thought it would be terrible for her mental health. We asked her not to come, and she agreed not to. I got to have a dance with my dad, and my mum surprised Joe by stepping in for a mother's dance with him. They smiled and laughed the whole time. It was the most special part of our wedding to me. I recently changed my Facebook cover photo to a picture of Joe and my mum dancing and laughing. Jean saw this and has been coming at us for it, saying it's just a reminder that she was excluded from her son's wedding day. I told her I'm not taking it down, and that if she doesn't want to see it, she can simply not look at my Facebook. She says I'm inconsiderate of her feelings and that I'm an AH for this because it drives another wedge between her and her son. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Gentle, everyone sucks here. She sounds annoying AF and very self-centered. But per the photo, I think it is, hopefully unintentionally, spiteful to put up a picture where your mum served in his mum's place in the wedding. Yes, she misbehaved herself out of an invitation, but she kept her word and agreed not to come. In her place, I would think it's pretty mean of you to display a picture that will always remind her that she wasn't part of such a big day in his life. It's because it's your FB photo of your husband and mum. A family wedding photo where she isn't there is more justifiable. IDK, I think it seems petty. Comment 2. I'm sure I will be voted down. I have much sympathy for you. You were very kind to invite her dress shopping, and I'm so sorry that backfired. I understand why you didn't feel she could come to the wedding, but I do think a public posting of a substitute mother is a little disrespectful, knowing the extent of her pain. Can you not just enjoy the photo in the private space of your own home? I've been that person excluded, it hurts. You can't fix what's broken, but you can avoid heaping more on the pile. Comment 3. I think it's quite awful to use a picture of Jo and your mum dancing and laughing. I think it's in poor taste. I would think she could benefit tremendously if she got therapy. It wouldn't be a bad idea to get family therapy. She is still grieving the death of her daughter. Expecting you to wear her Jill's wedding dress is weird. If you are concerned about her mental health, then why post a picture of your mum laughing and dancing with your husband? Now for the update. Jo's mum, Jean, suffered a stroke just a week after I shared my story. The reality of her health declining so rapidly has been a nightmare for all of us. We've been spending most days at the hospital and Jo is a wreck. It's like the universe just keeps piling on more for him to handle, and I'm trying to be there for him. But I'm struggling too. The doctors say Jean's condition is stable, but there's a long road to recovery ahead. She can't speak yet, and it's unclear how much function she'll regain. The guilt is eating Jo alive. He feels like he pushed her away at a time when she needed us most. I've never seen him so distraught, and it's breaking my heart. Amidst all this, John's sister found an unsent letter Jean had written to our deceased sister-in-law. It was filled with so much pain and regret for all the moments lost and all the things left unsaid. Reading it felt like an intrusion, but it also shed so much light on the depth of her grief. It's more than we ever comprehended. As if things couldn't get more complicated, I found out I'm pregnant. Under different circumstances, this would have been a joyous revelation, but with everything going on, it feels tainted with sadness. We haven't told Jean yet. It feels wrong to bring up new life when she's fighting for hers. I've been so preoccupied with the current situation that the Facebook photo seems like such a distant issue now. It's still up, but it's become so insignificant in the grand scheme of things. I don't know if Jean will ever get a chance to dance with Jo the way my mum did, and that thought alone is enough to overshadow any past conflicts we had. We're holding on to hope, but some days it feels like we're just bracing for the next wave to hit us. Please keep Jean in your thoughts. We're learning the hard way that life can be unforgivingly fragile. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. First and foremost, I want to extend my deepest sympathies for the challenging situation you and your family are facing with Jean's health. It's clear that your emotional bandwidth is stretched thin, and the discovery of your pregnancy amidst such turmoil must be incredibly bittersweet. You're not the jerk for feeling conflicted about the timing. It's a natural response to such a juxtaposition of life and decline. It's important to remember that feeling guilty for past actions like Jo won't change the present circumstances. What matters now is the support and love you give Jean in her time of need. The Facebook photo issue indeed pales in comparison to real-life matters, and your ability to recognize that shows maturity and growth. Hold on to hope, support each other, and allow yourselves to experience the full range of emotions that come with these life-changing events. Comment 2. Not the idiot. In light of the recent events with Jo's mother Jean, it's completely understandable that the family's focus has shifted to her health and well-being. Life often presents us with unexpected challenges, and how we respond to them is what truly defines us. It's apparent that you're all rallying together during this difficult time, which is commendable. The guilt Jo feels is a common reaction when a loved one falls ill, but it's crucial to not dwell on what could have been done differently and to concentrate on being there for Jean now. Your pregnancy, while in the midst of sorrow, does not taint the joy it can bring. Rather, it's a reminder that life is a cycle of highs and lows. Embracing this new life could be a source of comfort and hope for the family. It's also essential to take care of your emotional health during this period, as the stress can be overwhelming. Seeking support, whether through friends, support groups, or professional counseling, can be beneficial in navigating these complex feelings. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Dealing with a loved one's serious illness is a situation that no one is ever fully prepared for, and the emotions that come with it are complex and multifaceted. Your acknowledgement of the fragility of life is a sign of your deep empathy and compassion during this trying time. The fact that you consider the previous Facebook photo issue insignificant in the grand scheme of things is a testament to your ability to prioritize and adapt to the more pressing matters at hand. Regarding your pregnancy, it's entirely normal to experience a mix of joy and sadness given the circumstances. It's important to allow yourself to feel the joy of this new beginning. Sometimes new life can bring hope and comfort to a family in mourning. Also, it's okay to seek joy amidst sorrow, and you shouldn't feel guilty for the natural cycle of life continuing. Remember that each person deals with grief and stress differently, and providing space for each family member to process their feelings is crucial. Your strength during this time is admirable, and holding on to hope is sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and your family. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.